"Son," said Old Man Curry, "what's on your mind besides your hat? You ain't said a word for as much as 2 minutes, and any time you keep still that long there must be something wrong." The bald-faced kid's glance rested for an instant upon the kindly features of the patriarch of the jungle circuit, then flickered away down the line of stables where other horsemen and racetrack followers were sunning themselves and waiting the summons to the noon meal. Old Man Curry, his eyes half closed, a straw in the corner of his mouth, and the brim of his slouch hat resting upon the bridge of his nose, seemed not to be conscious of this brief but piercing scrutiny. As usual with him, there was about this venerable person a beguiling air of innocence and confidence in his fellow man, a simple attitude of trustfulness not entirely borne out by his method of handling a racing stable. Certain dishonest horsemen and bookmakers were beginning to suspect that Old Man Curry was smarter than he looked. The bald-faced kid had never entertained any doubts upon this subject. He remained silent, the thin edge of a grin playing about his lips. "I hope you ain't been trying to show any tin-horn gamblers the error of their ways by ruining 'em financially," said the old man, one drowsy eye upon the kid's face. "That's one of the things what just naturally can't be done. Steady growth is the thing to fat a bankroll, Frank. I'm about to tell you how you can multiply yours considerable. Last time you was here you had $200, spoiled Egyptian money." "Oh, I guess it wasn't so darn badly spoiled at that," interrupted the kid. "I didn't have any trouble getting rid of it." He grinned sheepishly. "Your friend Solomon called the turn on the get-rich-quick stuff. He that mocketh haste, what's the rest of it, old-timer?" "He that mocketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent," quoted Old Man Curry, rolling out the syllables in sonorous procession. "But I reckon not being rich is worrying you more than not being innocent. Who took the roll away from you?" "Squeaking Henry got a piece of it," admitted the kid. "Did you ever play 21 blackjack, old-timer?" Old Man Curry shook his head. "I never monkeyed much with cards," said he, "but I've seen the game played some when I was younger." "Well," said the kid mournfully, "Squeaking Henry and a couple of his friends rung in some marked cards on my deal. Of course those burglars could take one flash at the top of the deck and know just when to draw and when not to. I sat up there like a flathead and let 'em clean me. What tipped it off was that when I was down to my last smack, with a face card in sight and a face card in the hole, Henry drew to 20 and caught an ace. The mangy little crook. Oh, well, easy come, easy go. I'd have lost it some other way, I guess. But, say, what was this proposition of yours about fattening the bankroll? I've got $7 between me and the wolf, and he's so close that I can smell his breath." "Seeing that you ain't got any more judgment than that," was Old Man Curry's comment, "I don't know as I ought to tell you." "Oh, all right," said the kid, "if that's the way you feel about it, but maybe I've got some information I could trade you for it." "I never swapped hosses blind," said Old Man Curry. "I won't ask you to," said the bold-faced kid. "It's no news that Engel's bunch is out for your scalp, is it?" "No," said the old man. "I kind of suspicioned as much. They're after you strong, old-timer. First you walloped M with Elisha, then you double-crossed M with Elijah, and then you got Weaver and Murphy ruled off. At first Engel thought you was only ignorant but shot full of blind luck. Lately he ain't been so sure about the ignorance. Engel hates to give anybody else credit for being wise to the angles around this track." "Solomon said something about him," remarked Old Man Curry gravely. "Go ahead, pull it," said the kid. "Sayest thou a man wise in his own conceit? There is more hope of a fool than of him. That's what Solomon thought about the Engel family, son." "Well, if I was you I wouldn't lay any fancy odds that Engel is a fool," warned the kid. "There's one baby that you've got to figure on every minute. You've got a horse in your barn that Engel is watching like a hawk. Elisha? Elisha. When does he start the next time? In the handicap. The handicap, eh? You must think pretty well of him. Some good horses in that race. Well, there won't be a price on him worth taking, you can bet on that. Old Man Curry opened his eyes wide for the first time. No price on him. Nonsense. He's a selling plater going up Agin's so-called stake horses. No price. Ha! Even so, nevertheless, notwithstanding, said the kid with exasperating calmness, you won't get a price on him. I can quote some myself. The voice of wisdom is speaking to you. But he ain't never done anything that would justify starting him with stake hosses, argued Old Man Curry, feeling in his pockets for his fine cut. Is there any law to prevent him figuring that he might? But why is Engel worrying about the price on my hosses? Demanded Curry. Maybe to get even for what you've done to him. Maybe because he's got some sort of an agreement with Abe Goldmark. You know Abe? By sight, son, by sight. And that's the only way I want to know him. You and me both, said the kid quickly. I don't like that fellow's face or the way he wears it, but you can't afford to overlook him any more than you can overlook a rattlesnake. Goldmark is another one of the wise boys. He runs one book, but he's undercover with an interest in 5 or 6 more. He comes pretty near being a combination and restraint of trade, Goldmark does. The handicap is going to be the big betting race of the meeting. Goldmark has been tipped to keep his eye out for Elisha. On Elisha's record he ought to be 15 or 20 to 1. Longer than that, said Old Man Curry. I'm figuring these syndicate books, said the kid. He'll open around 3 to 1 and stay there whether there's a dollar bet on him or not. False odds? Certainly, but they're taking no chances on you. They figure you won't be trying at that price. And another thing, this same Squeaking Henry, this marked card gambler, has gone to work for Goldmark. $3 a day for what he can find out. Is this information worth anything to you? It might be, son, said Old Man Curry. It might be. I'll let you know later on. On the level, said the kid, you don't figure that Elisha has got a chance to win that race, not with Regulator and Black Bill and Miss Amber in it? They're no Salvatores, I admit, still they're the best we ever see in this part of the country. Black Bill is a demon over a distance, old-timer. He won the 2-mile race last winter at Santa Anita. Elisha has never gone more than 1 1/8 miles, and this is 1.5 miles. Honest, now, you don't think he can beat horses like Black Bill and Regulator, do you? Son, said Old Man Curry, I never think anything about a race until the night before. That's time enough. But suppose they make him a short price? You wouldn't cut him loose and let him make a showing that would spoil him as a betting proposition? Well, maybe he won't be a short price, said the old man. You can't tell a thing about it. It's this way with bookmakers, once in a while they change their minds, and that's where an honest hossman gets a crack at 'em. Yes, they get to fooling with their little pieces of chalk. I don't reckon Elisha will be less than 20 to 1. There goes the gong at the boarding house. Might as well eat with me and nurse that $7 all you can. The bald-faced kid rose with alacrity and bowed low, his hand upon his heart. You are the ideal host, said he, and I am the ideal hostee. I could eat a horse and chase the driver. Lead the way, old-timer. The money which Squeaking Henry won by reason of the marked cards did him very little good, remaining in his possession barely long enough to cause his vest pocket to sag a trifle. He lost it in a friendly game with the friends who were clever enough to plan the raid on the bald-faced kid's bankroll, using Henry as a tool, much as the coastwise Chinaman uses a cormorant in his fishing operations. Stripped of his opulence, Squeaking Henry found himself flat on the market again. Henry was a tout, hence an easy and extemporaneous liar, but, alas, a clumsy one. He lacked the bald-faced kid's finesse, lacked also his tireless energy, his insatiable curiosity, and the thin vein of pure metal which lay underneath the base. There was nothing about Squeaking Henry which was not for sale cheap, body and soul. He was on life's bargain counter among the remnants, and Abe Goldmark, examining the lot, found a price tag labeled $3 a day. "Aha," said Henry. "I get you, Mr. Goldmark. You want me to stick around old man Curry's barn and pump him." "Never mind the pumping," said Goldmark. "The less you talk and the fewer questions you ask the better. Curry is no fool, understand. He might be just as smart as you are. Judging by the number of good things he's put over at this meeting, he's smarter. I want to know who calls on him, who his stable connections are, who he—" "Ah, he ain't got no stable connections," said Squeaking Henry in great disgust. "He plays the game alone, and when he wants to bet he walks into the ring and goes to it. Never had a betting commissioner in his life, and if you want to know when the stable money is down, all you've got to do is watch Curry. Cinch." "Oh, a cinch is it?" sneered Goldmark. "Then I'm making a big mistake to hire you to find out things. You know everything already, eh?" "Well, I guess not everything," mumbled the abashed Henry. "That's my guess, too," snapped Goldmark. "I'm paying you to watch that Curry stable, get me? And I want you to watch it. I want to know everything that happens around there from now on, understand? Particularly, I want a line on this Alicia horse. Know him when you see him?" "SS sure," said Squeaking Henry. "Sure I do. Big, leggy bay with a white spot on his forehead about the size of a nickel." "Do I know him?" "Well, I want to know when Curry works him, how far and how fast. I want to know what the old man thinks of his chances in the handicap. You can get me at the hotel every night after dinner. Better use the telephone. In case you slip up or miss me, send word by Al Angle." "All right," said Henry. "And say," Goldmark actually grinned, "I hear this Curry is a soft-hearted old fellow. Why couldn't you tell him a hard luck story and get to sleep in his tackroom nights? Then you'd be right on the ground. Try a hard luck story on him. The one you sprang on me wasn't so bad." Mused Henry. "I might, and that's a fact. He ain't a bad guy, old man Curry ain't. He stakes the hustlers every once in a while." "Well," said Goldmark insinuatingly, "if he should be such a sucker as to stake you, don't forget you was on my payroll first, that's all I ask." "Ah, what'd you take me for?" growled Squeaking Henry, virtuously indignant at the barest hint of duplicity. "I ain't that kind of a guy." Since the tout lives by his wits and his tongue, he is never without a hard luck story, a dependable one, tried, but seldom, if ever, true. He circles human nature, searching for the weak point and, having found it, delivers the attack. Squeaking Henry knew the armor plate to be thinnest on man's sympathetic side, and the hard luck story which he told old man Curry would have melted the heart of a golf club handicapper. The story was overworked and threadbare in spots, but it brought an immediate result. "And that's how I'm fixed," whined Squeaking Henry in conclusion. "I think I can rustle the eats all right enough, one meal a day anyway, and if I just had a place to sleep." He paused and regarded old man Curry expectantly. "Come in, son," said the patriarch. A wiser man than Squeaking Henry might have found Curry's manner almost too friendly. "Come in. There's a spare cot here and you're welcome to it. Mose, my little nigger, sleeps here too, but I reckon you won't mind him. He's clean." Strange to say, it was Jockey Mosby Jones who minded. He minded very much, in plain English, waylaying old man Curry as he made the rounds of the stalls that night, lantern in hand. "This year Squawkin' Henry, boss, he's a no good hound. He's no good at all. They catched him at Butte last year ringin' and haw's dice on crap game mong friends and EY just naturally sunk his floatin' ribs and kicked him out on his haid. That's all they done to him, Mist Curry. Better watch him clost, else he'll steal MG fillins out'n yo teeth." "You know him, do you, Mose?" asked old man Curry. "Do I knows him?" ejaculated the little negro. "I knows him well enough to wish yo hadn't veetin to do his flop pin in yo tackroom." "Ah," said old man Curry reflectively. "Mose, I reckon you never heard what Job said." Jockey Mosby Jones heaved a deep sigh. It comes again," he murmured. "No, boss, he said such a many things I can't seem to keep track of 'em all." "What he say now?" "Something about the wise being taken in their own craftiness, I've forgotten the exact words." Shoalyo don't call Squawkin' Henry wise?" "No, but he may have wise friends. Somehow I've sort of been expecting this visitor, Mose. You heard him tell about how bad off his mother is. It seems a shame not to accommodate him, when all he wants is a place to sleep and some information on the side." "Information, boss?" "Well, I can't exactly swear to it, Mose, but I think the children of Israel have sent this Henry person among us to spy out the land. That's a trick they learned a long time ago, after they got out of Egypt. Joshua taught it to 'em. Ever since then they don't take any more chances than they can help. They always want to know what the other fellow is doing, and it's a pretty good system at that. Being as things are the way they are, a spy in camp, etc., mep what has talk is done had better be done by me. You sabe, Mose?" "Humph," sniffed the little jockey. "I got you long ago, boss, long ago." Al Engel, sometimes known as the sharpshooter, horse owner, and recognized head of a small but busy band of turf pirates, was leaving his stable at 7:30 on a Wednesday evening, intending to proceed by automobile to the brightly lighted district. Sleek, blonde, youthful in appearance, without betraying wrinkle or line, Engel's innocent exterior had been his chief dependence in his touting days. He seemed, on the surface, to be everything which he was not. As he stepped forth from the shadow of the stable awning, a hand plucked at his sleeve. "It's me, Henry," said a voice. "I've got a message for Goldmark, couldn't catch him on the phone." "Shoot it," said Engel. "Tell him that Elisha has gone dead lame, can't hardly rest his foot on the ground." "That'll do for Sweeney," said the sharpshooter. "Elisha worked fine this morning. I clocked him myself." "But that was this morning," argued Squeaking Henry. "He must have bowed a tendon or something. His left foreleg is in awful shape." "Are you sure it's Elisha?" demanded Engel. "Come and see for yourself. You know the horse. Owned him for a few weeks, didn't you? Curry is working on his leg now. You can peek in at the door of the stall and see for yourself. He won't even know you're there." Together they crossed the dark space under the trees, heading for a thin ribbon of light which streamed from beneath the awning of Curry's barn. Somewhere, close at hand, a piping voice was lifted in song. "On e dummy,
on e-dummy line. Rise and shine and pay my fine. Rise and shine and pay my fine. Ridin' on e-dummy, dummy line.
What's that? Ejaculated Engel, pausing.
Ah, that's only Curry's little nigger, Mose. He's always singing or whistling or something.
I hope he chokes, said Engel, advancing cautiously. The stall door was almost closed, but by applying his eye to the crack Engel could see the interior. Old Man Curry was kneeling in the straw, dipping bandages in a bucket of hot water. The horse was watching him, ears pricked nervously.
If this ain't tough luck, I don't know what is.
Old Man Curry was talking to himself, his voice querulous and complaining.
Tough luck, yes, sir. Tough for you, Leisha, and tough for me.
Job knew something when he said that man born of woman is of few days and full of trouble.
Yes, indeed. Here I had you right on edge, and ready to whoa, boy. Stand still, there. I ain't going to hurt ye, Leisha. What's the matter with ye, anyway? Stand still. The horse backed away on 3 legs, snorting with indignation. Engel had seen enough. He withdrew swiftly, nor did he pause to chuckle until he was 50 yards from Curry's barn. Well, said Squeaking Henry, it was him, wasn't it? Sure it was him, and he's got a pretty badly strained tendon, too. At first I thought the old fox might be trying to palm off one of his other cripples on you, but that was Alicia all right enough. Yes, he's through for about a month or so. That's what I figure, said Henry. The old man, though, he's got his heart set on starting Alicia in the handicap next Saturday. He thinks maybe he can dope him up so's he won't feel the soreness. In a 1.5 mile race, said Engel. I hope he tries it. He'll just about ruin that skate for life if he does. 5/8, yes, but a 1.5 miles? No chance. You'll tell Goldmark? Yes, I'll tell him. So long. Engel swung away through the dark and Squeaking Henry watched him until he was swallowed up in the gloom. That being the case, said he, and Alicia on the bum, I guess I'll take a night off. This Sherlock Holmes stuff is wearing on the nerves. Al Engel delivered the message, giving it a strong backing of personal opinion. No, Abe, it's all right, I tell you. It's straight. I've seen the horse myself, ain't I? Know him? Man alive, I had the skate in my barn for nearly a month. I ought to know him. Why, there's no question about it. He's so lame he can hardly touch his foot to the ground. If he starts, he's 1,000,000 to 1 to win, 100 to 1 he won't even finish. Certainly, I'm sure. You can go broke on it. Don't talk to me. Haven't I seen strained tendons before? Next to a broken leg, it's the worst thing that can happen to a racehorse. While Engel was closeted with Goldmark, Old Man Curry was entertaining another nocturnal visitor. It was the bald-faced kid, breathless, his brow beaded with perspiration. Just got the tip that Alicia has gone lame, said the kid. I was in the crap game over at Devlin's barn when Squeaking Henry came in with the news. I ran all the way over here. Oh ho, so it was Henry, eh? Old Man Curry rumbled behind his whiskers, his nearest approach to a laugh. Henry, eh? Well, now, it's this way 'bout Henry. He's better than a newspaper because it don't cost a cent to subscribe to him. He's got the loosest jaw and the longest tongue in the world. But on the level, said the kid earnestly, is Alicia lame? Come and see for yourself,
said Old Man Curry, taking his lantern from the peg. After an interval they returned to the tackroom, the bald-faced kid shaking his head commiseratingly.
"That would have been rotten luck if it had happened to a dog," said he. "And the handicap coming on and all."
"There'll be a better opening price than 3-to-1 now, I reckon," said Old Man Curry grimly.
"Opening price," ejaculated the kid, startled. "Say, what are you talking about? You don't mean to tell me you're thinking of starting him with his leg in this shape, old-timer?"
Well, no, not in this shape, exactly. But lordy, man, the handicap is on Saturday and here it is Wednesday night already.
You can't fix up a leg like that in 2 days.
You're going some if you get it straightened out in 2 weeks. Of course, you can shoot the leg full of cocaine and he'll run on it a little ways, but asking him to go 1.5 miles, confound it, old-timer.
That's murdering a game horse. You're liable to have a hopeless cripple on your hands when it's over. I tell you, if Alicia was mine.
"You'd own a real racehoss, son," said Old Man Curry.
"Now run along, Frank,
and don't try to teach your granddad to suck eggs. I was doctoring hosses before you come to this country at all, and I'm going to doctor this one some more and then go to bed." Shortly thereafter the good horse Alicia entertained a visitor who brought no lantern with him, but operated in the dark, swiftly and silently. Later a door creaked, there were muffled footfalls under the stable awning and one resounding thump, as it might have been a shod hoof striking a doorsill. Still later Squeaking Henry, returning to his post of duty, saw a light in Elisha's stall and looked in at Old Man Curry applying cold compresses to the left foreleg of a gaunt bay horse with a small splash of white in the center of the forehead.
"How they coming, Uncle?" asked Henry.
"Oh, about the same, I reckon," was the reply.
"You might as well hit the hay.
You've been fooling with that leg since dark, but you'll never get the bird ready to fly by Saturday." "Wisdom crieth without," quoted Old Man Curry sententiously. "She uttereth her voice in the street." "Quit kidding yourself," argued Henry, "and look how sore he is.
You're in big luck if he ain't lame a whole month from now."
"Well," said Old Man Curry, "Solomon says that the righteous man regardeth the life of his beast."
"He does, eh?" Squeaking Henry chuckled unpleasantly. "There's a whole lot of things Solomon didn't know about bowed tendons. That leg needs something besides regards, I'm telling you." "And I'm listening," said Old Man Curry patiently.
"Wisdom will die with you, I reckon, Henry, so take care of yourself." If the Jungle Circuit knew an event remotely approaching a turf classic, it was the Northwestern Handicap, by usage shortened to the Handicap. It was their Metropolitan, Suburban, and Brooklyn rolled into one. The winner was crowned with garlands, the jockey was photographed in the floral horseshoe, and the fortunate owner pocketed something more than $2,000, a large sum of money on any racetrack in the land, but a princely reward to the average jungle owner. The best horses in training were entered each year, and while a scornful Eastern handicapper would doubtless have rated them all among the cheap-selling platers, they were still the kings of the jungle tracks, small toads in a smaller puddle, and their annual struggle was anticipated for weeks. Each candidate appeared in the light of a possible winner because the purse was worth trying for and each owner was credited with an honest desire to win. The handicap was emphatically the big betting race of the season. This year Black Bill, famed for consistent performance and ability to cover a distance of ground, was a pronounced favorite. Black Bill had been running with better horses than the Jungle campaigners and winning from them, and it was popularly believed that he had been shipped from the south for the express purpose of capturing the handicap purse. His single start at the meeting had been won in what the turf reporters called impressive fashion, which is to say that jockey Grogan brought Black Bill home 3 lengths in front of his field, and but for the strength in his arms the gap would have been a much wider one. Regulator, a sturdy chestnut, and Miss Amber, a nervous brown mare, were also high in public esteem, rivals for the position of second choice. "It's a 3-horse race," said the wiseacres, "and the others are outclassed. Whatever money there is will be split by Black Bill, Miss Amber, and Regulator. If anything happens to Bill, one of the others will win, but the rest of them won't get anything but a hard ride and a lot of dust." From his position on the block, Abe Goldmark looked down on a surging crowd. He was waiting for the official announcement on the third race. The crowd was waiting for the posting of the odds on the handicap, waiting, money in hand, ready to dash at bargains. Al Engel forced his way through the press and Goldmark bent to listen. "The old nut is going to start him sure enough," whispered the sharpshooter. "No, he won't warm him up. Would you throw a gallop into a horse with his leg full of coke? Curry is crazy, but he ain't quite as crazy as that. The old boy was putting bandages on him at midnight last night," grinned Goldmark. "Dang it, hell, a man ought to be arrested for starting a horse in that condition." "The coke will die out before he's gone half a mile," said Engel. "Might not even last that long, depends on how long they're at the post. I saw a horse once." The melodious bellow of the official announcer rose above the hum of the crowd, and there was a sudden, tense shifting of the nervous human mass. A dozen bookmakers turned leisurely to their slates, a dozen pieces of chalk were poised aggravatingly, and a hoarse grunt of disappointment rose from the watchers. Black Bill the favorite, yes, but bet 5s to win 3s? Hardly. Wait a minute, don't go after it now. Maybe it'll go up. Regulator, 8 to 5, holy Moses. What kind of booking is this, anyway? Miss Amber, 2 to 1. Make 'em all odds on and be done with it, sneered the gamblers. Talk about your syndicate books. Beat 5 races at this track, and if your money holds out you may beat the 6th, too. Ha! One bookmaker, more adventurous than his fellows, offered 4 to 5 on Black Bill and was immediately mobbed. Then came the prices on the outsiders. Simple Simon, 8 to 1, Pepper and Salt, 12 to 1, Ted Mitchell and Everhart, 15 to 1, and so on. Last of all, the chalk paused at Alicia, 40 to 1. "Ah, be game," taunted Al Engel. "Only 40 with what you know about him. He ought to be 100, 40, and 20. Be game." "Who's doing this?" demanded Goldmark. "Come on, gentlemen. Make your bets. We haven't got all day. Black Bill, 6 to 10. Simple Simon, 40 to 5. Thank you, sir." Out in the paddock, old man Curry rubbed the red flannel bandage on Elisha's leg, stopping now and then to answer questions. Yes, been a little lame. Will he last? Well, it's this way, you can't never tell. If it comes back on him, no, I didn't warm him up. Why not? That's my business, young man. The bald-faced kid came also, alert as a fox, eager for any scrap of information which might be converted into coin. He shook his head reprovingly at old man Curry. "I didn't think you'd have the heart, old-timer," said he. "Honest to Pete, I didn't. Don't you care what happens to this horse or what?" "Son," said the patriarch simply, "I care a lot. I care a plenty. If you've got any of that $7 left, you might put it on his nose." "Him? To win? You're daffy as a cuckoo bird. Why, last night he couldn't put that foot on the ground." "Well, of course, Frank, if you know that much about it, don't let me advise you. If I had $7 and was looking for a soft spot, I'd put it square on Leisha's nose." You've been losing too much sleep lately, said the kid, edging away.
You want to win this race so much that you've bulled yourself into thinking that you can.
Mebso, Frank, Mebso, was the mild response, but don't let me influence you none whatever.
Go play Black Bill.
What's his price?
3 to 5. 1 to 2 in some books.
False price, said the old man.
He ain't got no license to be odds on.
See you later, said the bald-faced kid, and went away with a pitying grin upon his face.
The pity was evenly divided between Elisha and his owner.
Old Man Curry heaved little Mose into the saddle.
Mind now, son.
Ride just like I told you. Stay with that black hoss. He'll lay out of it the first mile.
When he moves up, you move up too. We've got a big pull in the weights and that'll count in the last quarter.
Stay with him, just like his shadow, Mose.
Yes, Sue, said Jockey Jones.
If I'm going to be a shatter, he'll sure think the sun is set tin behind him when he starts down at stretch. Abe Goldmark craned his neck to see the parade past the grandstand.
Elisha was fifth in line, walking sedately, as was his habit.
Not so very frisky, but at that he looks better than I thought he would, was Goldmark's mental comment. They must have shot all the coke in the world into that old skate. As soon as he begins to run, the blood will pump into that sore leg and he'll quit.
Black Bill looks like the money to me.
He outclasses these other horses.
Goldmark passed the eraser over his slate. Black Bill, 2 to 5. Elisha, 60, 20, and 10.
A dozen restless, high-strung thoroughbreds and a dozen nervous, scheming jockeys can make life exceedingly interesting for an official starter, particularly if the race be an important one and a ragged start certain to draw a storm of adverse criticism. The boys on the front runners were all maneuvering to beat the barrier and thus add to a natural advantage, while the boys on the top-weighted horses were striving to secure an early start before the lead pads began to tell on their mounts. As a result, the barrier was broken 4 times in as many minutes and the commandment against profanity was broken much oftener. The starter grew hoarse and inarticulate, sweat streamed down his face as he hurled anathemas at horses and riders.
Keep that Miss Amber back, Dugan. Go through that barrier again and it'll cost you 50. I can't do nothing with her, whined Dugan.
She's crazy, that's what she is. Through all the turmoil and excitement, 2 horses remained quietly in their positions waiting for the word. These were Black Bill and Elisha, stretch runners, to whom a few yards the worst of the start meant nothing. Out of the corner of his eye little Mose watched Jockey Grogan on the favorite. The black horse edged toward the webbing, the line broke, wheeled, advanced, broke again and a third time came swinging forward.
As it advanced, Mose drove the blunt spurs into Elisha's side.
A roar from the starter, a spattering rain of clods, a swirl of dust, and the handicap was on. Nice start, said the presiding judge, drawing a long breath. Across the track, the official starter mopped his brow.
Not so worse, said he. Go on, you little devils. It's up to you.
Away went the front runners, their riders checking them and rating their speed with an eye to the long journey. Simple Simon, Pepper and Salt, and Ted Mitchell engaged in a brisk struggle for the pacemaking position and the latter secured it. Miss Amber and Regulator were in 5th and 6th places respectively, and at the tail end of the procession was Black Bill, taking his time, barely keeping up with the others.
A distance race was no new thing to Black Bill.
He had seen front runners before and knew that they had a habit of fading in the final quarter. Beside him was Elisha, matching him, stride for stride. Down the stretch they came, Ted Mitchell gradually increasing the pace. Jockey Jones heard the crowd cheering as he passed the grandstand and his lip curled.
"We eatin' it now, Leisha Hawes," said he, "but next time we come down here they'll be eatin' out Dustin, don't make no mistake. Take yo' time, baby. It's a long way yet, a long way."
Entering the back stretch, there was a sudden shifting of the colored jackets. The outsiders, nervous and overeager, were making their bids for the purse, and making them too soon. The flurry toward the front brought about a momentary spurt in the pace, followed immediately by the steady, machine-like advance of Regulator, but as the chestnut horse moved up, the brown mare went with him, on even terms.
There goes Regulator.
There he goes.
Yes, but he can't shake Miss Amber.
She's right there with him.
Oh, you Amber. What ails Black Bill?
He's a swell favorite, he is.
He ain't done a thing yet.
He always runs that way, said the wise ones. Wait till he hits the upper turn.
Abe Goldmark, standing on a stool on the lawn, wrinkled his brow in perplexity.
About time for that bird to quit, said he to himself. He ain't got any license to run a mile with a leg like that.
Jockey Mosby Jones was also beginning to wonder what ailed Black Bill.
Grogan sat the favorite like a statue, apparently unmoved by the gap widening in front of him.
"We kin wait long as he kin, baby," said Mose, comfortingly, "but ISUT New York don't crave to see 'em othy hosses so far ahead."
At the end of the mile, Black Bill and Alicia were still at the end of the procession. Miss Amber had managed to shove her brown nose in front, with Regulator at her saddle girth. Many an anxious eye was turned on Black Bill, many sought his transformation, but none was better prepared for it than Jockey Mosby Jones. He saw the first wrap slide from Grogan's wrists. "Come on, baby," yelled Mose, bumping Alicia with his spurs.
"Come on. We got a race here after all."
"Yes, Sue, is Black Hawes wakin' up?"
"Show him something, baby. Show him our class."
Jockey Grogan laughed and flung an insult over his shoulder.
"Class? That skate," said he. "Stay with us as long as you can. This is a horse, nigger, a horse."
Black Bill was beginning to run at last, as the grandstand acknowledged with frenzied yells. Yes, he was running, but a gaunt bay horse was running with him, stride for stride. Old Man Curry, at the paddock gate, tugged at his beard with one hand and fumbled for his tobacco with the other. Side by side, the black and the bay swept upon the floundering outsiders, overwhelmed them, and passed on. Side by side they turned into the home stretch, and only two horses were in front of them, Regulator and Miss Amber. The mare was under the whip.
"You say you got a Hawes there," taunted Mose. "Show me how much Hawes he is." Grogan shook off the last wrap and bent to his work.
Not until then did he realize that the real race was beside him and not with the chestnut out in front.
"Show him up, Leisha."
"Show him up," shrilled Mose, and the bay responded with a lengthened stride which gave him an advantage to be measured in inches, but Black Bill gamely fought his way back on even terms again.
Miss Amber dropped behind.
The boy on Regulator was using his whip, but he might just as well have been beating a carpet with it. Third money was his at the paddock gate. 75 yards, 50 yards, 25 yards, and still the two heads bobbed side by side. Jockey Michael Grogan, hero of many a hard finish, cool, calculating, and unmoved by the deafening clamor beating down from the packed grandstand, measured the distance with his eye and took a chance. His rawhide whip whistled through the air. Black Bill, unused to punishment, faltered for the briefest fraction of a second, and came on again, but too late. The presiding judge, an unprejudiced man with a stubby gray mustache, squinted across an imaginary line and saw the bay head before he saw the black.
Jerusalem, my happy home, said he.
That was an awful tight fit, but the curry horse won by a whisker.
Hang up the numbers. Lord!
But that Elisha is a better horse than I gave him credit for being.
Yeah, said the associate judge, and the nigger outrode Grogan, if anybody should ask you. He had a chance if he hadn't let that horse's head flop to go the bat.
It wasn't that, said the other quickly. The horse flinched when he hit him. I've been photographed and interviewed till I'm black in the face, complained old man Curry, and now you come along. You're worse than them confounded reporters. You bet I am, was the calm response of the bald-faced kid, because I know more.
And yet I don't know enough to satisfy me. Somebody played Elisha, and it wasn't me. You never went near the betting ring. I watched you. My money did. Quite a gob of it. And you thought he'd win? Didn't I tell you to bet on him?
Hell, wailed the bald-faced kid. He was lame, he couldn't walk the night before.
Bet on him? How could I after I'd seen him in that fix? Frank, said the old man, you believe everything you see, don't you?
The bald-faced kid sat down and took his head in his hands. Tell it to me, old-timer, said he humbly. I'm such a wise guy that it hurts me, but something has come off here that's a mile over my head.
Tell me, I'm no mind reader. Old man Curry combed his beard reflectively and gazed through the tackroom door into the dusk of the summer evening. Son, said he at length, you never swapped hosses much, did you?
Never owned any to swap, was the muffled response.
Too bad.
You would have learned things.
For instance, there's a trick that can be worked when you want to buy a hoss cheap and can get at him for a minute. It's done with a needle and thread and a hair from the hoss's tail.
There's a spot in the leg where the tendons come together, and the trick is to pass that hoss hair in between the tendons and trim off the ends just long enough so's you can find 'em again. Best part of the trick is it don't hurt the hoss none, but he knows it's there and he won't hardly rest his foot on the ground till it's pulled out.
Then he's as good as new again.
Lovely, groaned the kid.
What makes you so close-mouthed, old-timer? Experience, son, experience.
He that hath knowledge spareth his words.
I spared quite a many.
I knew there was a spy in camp, and I sewed up Elisha on Wednesday and let Henry see him.
Al Engel came over and peeked to make sure. I had the little nigger watching for him.
You saw Elisha that same night, and the whole kit and boiling of you got a couple of notions fixed in your heads, first, that it was Elisha, second, that he was a tollable lame hoss. You expected, when you looked in that stall again, you'd see a big red hoss with a white spot on his forehead lame.
Well, you did, but it wasn't the same one.
Elijah, said the kid.
And you lamed him too?
I had to do it. People expected to see a lame hoss, I had to have one to show 'em, didn't I? But nobody got a look at him in bright daylight, son. After you went away Wednesday night I pulled out the hoss hair, put Elisha in Elijah's stall, and vice versa, as they say. Then I worked on Elijah, and when Henry came along he didn't know the difference. Them hosses look a lot alike, anyway. Put a little daub of white stuff on Elijah's forehead, keep him blanketed up pretty snug, and well, I reckon that's about all they was to it.
50 and 60 to 1 going begging, mourning the kid. Why didn't you tell me what was coming off? Because Henry was watching both of us, was the reply. And, speaking of Henry, it was you told me the sons of Belial had gone into the spy business, so I protected your interests the best I could. Here's a little ticket calling for quite a mess of money.
It's on the Abe Goldmark's book, and I didn't cash it because I wanted you to have a chance to laugh at him when he pays off. Last I seen of him he was sore but solvent.